Jaya Radha Madhava Punjabi Jaya Radha Madhava Bijan Bijan Vallabha Shodan Yashodanandana Brajajinari Tira Acha Yamuna Tira Chai Jaya Radha Madhava Vina Jaya Radha Madhava Jagita Pijana Vallabha Gita Pijana Vallabha Yashodanandana Brajajan Yashodanandana Brajajan Yashodanandana Brajajan Yashodanandana Brajajan Iravansha Yamuna Tira Vanachara Ira Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Rama Rama Ram Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare Rama Hare Rama Hare Hare Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Jai Radha Dhamma Radha Dhamma Shri Radhe Radha Dhamma Radha Dhamma Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada
Hare Krishna, dear devotees. Uh, Thank you to Sripal Prabhu who afforded me this opportunity to speak in his place. He's currently in New Vrindavan for the Holy Name Retreat with His Holiness Sachinandan Maharaj. So I was very happy to uh, get this opportunity. It has been a while. So, dear devotees, I request your blessings so that I can say something that is in line with Prabhupada's teachings, these purports, that is pleasing and beneficial to your hearts. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vainam Namaskritam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udivayet Nashtapraishva Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatutama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So on this auspicious disappearance date of Sri Ramananda Rai, we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 6, Prescribed Duties for Mankind, Chapter 17. Mother Parvati curses Chitraketu, text 14. Let's see. Targa Prabhu posted it. Yes, text 14. Nayam arhati vaikunta pada mulo sarpanam sambhavita mati stabdha sadhubhi parupasitam. Nayam arhati vaikunta pada mulo pasarpanam sambhavita mati stabdha sadhubhi parupasitam. Would anyone like to try to read the verse?
Nayam arati vaikunta para mulopasarpanam sambhavita mati stabdha sadhubi parupasitam.
Thank you, Prabhu. Anyone else? No, not. I am this person. Arhati deserves. Vaikunta pada mula pasarpanam. The approaching of the shelter of Lord Vishnu's lotus feet. Sambhavita matihi, considering himself highly esteemed. Stabdaha, impudent. Sadhubihi, by great saintly persons. Aryupasitam, worshipped. Translation. This person is puffed up because of his achievements, thinking, I am the best. He does not deserve to approach the shelter of Lord Vishnu's lotus feet, which are worshipped by all saintly persons, for he is impudent, thinking himself greatly important. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. If a devotee thinks that he is very much advanced in devotional service, he is considered puffed up and unfit to sit beneath the shelter of the Lord's lotus feet. Again, this instruction by Lord Chaitanya is applicable. Nadapi sunichena taror api sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtanya sada hrihi. One should chant the holy name of the Lord in a humble state of mind, thinking oneself lower than the straw in the street. One should be more tolerant than a tree, devoid of all sense of false prestige, and ready to offer all respect to others. In such a state of mind, one can chant the holy name of the Lord constantly. unquote. Unless one is humble and meek, one cannot qualify to sit at the lotus feet of the Lord. Om Gyana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shlakaya Chakshura Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnu Paraya Krishna Prashnaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamine Namine. Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharne Nivishesha Shunavari Paschatya Deshatarne. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Nayam Arhati Vaikunta Ramulop Sarpanam Sambhavita Madhistabdha Sadhubhi Paripasitam. This person is puffed up because of his achievements, thinking, I am best. He does not deserve to approach the shelter of Lord Vishnu's lotus feet, which are worshipped by all saintly persons. For he is impudent, thinking himself greatly important. So Mother Parvati is very angry. And in her anger, she is, in her chastisement, she is pointing to a very important qualification that is required to actually become Prabhupada, to be situated at the Lord's lotus feet. And that qualification is described by Lord Chaitanya, and as Prabhupada is quoting here, Trinadapi Sunichena. So to be humble and meek. So this humility in devotional service, it is not mental adjustment. It's not an ethical consideration that this is the right thing to do. It's not a diplomatic maneuver to try to, because that's what everybody else is doing. Therefore, in order to socially, to fit in the society of devotees, then that's what we do. No, it's actually at a very deep level. It's ontological in nature. The whole, to cultivate humility in devotional service, or to connect with the Lord, to reconnect with Krishna through yoga, humility at an ontological level is actually required. So this humility at an ontological level is, as Lord Chaitanya describes, to actually see yourself as you are. That's what this Trinadapi Sunichena verse is. You need to see yourself as a spirit soul. What are the dimensions of the spirit soul? Very, very tiny. This is described by Krishna, 1/10,000 parts of the tip of the hair. And the hair is 10 to the minus 6, it's micron. And if you do 1/10,000th of that, it is 1 to the 10 to the minus 10, which is about 10 nanometers here, if I remember. 10 nanometers. So this scale we can see. We have powerful microscopes. We have the technology to be able to see this. But still, people haven't discovered the soul. Even with the super soul as well, the dimensions of the super soul are the size of the thumb of the body that you're looking at. So in a human body, it's the size of your thumb. If you're looking at an elephant, the super soul is fairly big in dimension. But still, they haven't been able to discover it with electron microscopes. And that's because the energy of the soul and the super soul is very fine. Just like the false ego, the energy of the false ego, it's actually relatively big in dimensions, in quantity, as present in the body, but the energy is fine. It's finer than electrons because electrons are um, this is matter from the fire element, right? Um, they're the building blocks basically of, according to empiric science, and even within a branch of Munis, I just forget the branch of philosophy that is called the Sanskrit, but basically persons who count. It's not the Sankhya system, but they have their own atomic model of the universe and the building blocks of atoms, or electrons. So it's finer than that. It's finer than the great elements of earth, fire, air, ether, and sky. Earth, fire, air, ether, and water. Uh, Even the mind as well is present, but it can't be detected. It can only be inferred, but it can't be detected with electron microscopes. So, yeah, so the soul is very small, is very tiny, tinier than a blade of grass. So, blades of grass, you walk around them, and grass stays where it is. Um, it keeps its place. It grows to a certain length, like now it's the spring flush. And the grass is just happy to grow and be eaten by cows. The milking cows, they like the tips of the grasses because the grass accumulates DHA, this docosahexaenoic acid. And so the grass is just doing its thing. We grow to a certain length, we accumulate DHA, and the cows just come and just bite it off. So this DHA is if somebody came to you and said, okay, I want all your DHA, recent, recent, as Purushottam Kshetra Prabhu has presented, as recent as 2018, it's been discovered that in recent neuroscience research that 40% of the human brain is made up of docosahexaenoic acid. I don't know, I think it's the cerebral cortex. So this is the part of the brain that calculates, does all the computations, um, and 40% of that, the cerebral cortex, is made up of uh, this docosahexaenoic acid. So somebody said, okay, Tsunadapi Sunichena be a grass. It's tantamount to saying, okay, I want 40% of your cerebral cortex. Okay, well, Radha Damodar, your cows are eating all of, as a blade of grass, the cows are eating all of our DHA. So, yes, okay, uh, let me be the servant of Radha Damodar's cows, and they can also have all of my DHA, which is 40% of uh, this yeah, 40% of your cerebral cortex, a core part of your brain. So if you lose this, it'll be like, oh my God, I won't actually know who I am. I won't be able to perform functions. So fortunately, Bhakti Yoga isn't asking you to torture yourself in that way to perform. It would be a very, shall we say, yeah, I just forget, yeah, the English word. It's not coming to me, but almost like terrible sacrifice, but scary to slice out 40% of your cerebral cortex and, I don't know, liquefy it, mix it in the cow's feed and give it and be like, okay, that's it. Sinara Pisu Nichena. I've achieved it. I've given it to Radha Damodar's cows. So fortunately, Radha Damodar aren't asking us to do that. But in principle, they're asking you to give up the false ego. So even though, yes, there's a lot of research Even Al Guru Maharaj as well in his book Searching for Vedic India, citing cases of persons, even without a brain, their personality is still intact. So in the same way, even though blades of grass give up this very important complex amino acid, that really does wonderful things. The biggest brains that are still celebrated in human history. Brains such as Einstein, Niels Bohr, uh, all these great physicists. And the amino acid that was a building block of that, even if you don't have all of it, you can still have high levels of intelligence. So intelligence isn't really dependent on that. Just as even the grass growing, even though it's losing this docosahexaenoic acid from the cows are eating it up, still the grass continues to grow, right? Still grows. Gets eaten, then it grows back up. So in the same way with us is that when you come to Krishna consciousness and you give up the false ego, this conception of being puffed up, I am an engineer, I'm a scientist, I am a musician, I'm a popular musician, people like me, I am, I have a lot of value, I am alert, I'm intelligent. All these characteristics are just characteristics of the body. And so thinking yourself lower than the grass is the process of devotional service, particularly anartha nivritti, where you give up these false conceptions. They are false because they only pertain to this lifetime. What about the previous lifetime? Those designations weren't there. You had a different set of designations. But you, as a spirit soul, even though you're being chopped down by the wheel of time, life after life, still you continue to grow, right? You come into being, you take birth um, in the womb of a mother, and then you grow up, you produce byproducts, you stay for some time, you dwindle, and then time bubbles you up, bubbles up your body, and then you grow again, just like a piece of grass. So this Trinadapi Sunichena is to see yourself as just one tiny uh, atom in this entire great wheel of the cycle of birth and death. That what I'm actually aspiring for materially, it has nothing to do with me. My business is simply to actually offer service. So and to offer the best of myself, right? So this piece of grass is offering this DHA to the cows, and the cows are producing ahimsa milk. They're producing milk, and that milk is feeding humans for the rest of their life. So humans get their DHA from their biological mother, and in the balance of their lifetime, they get it from cows. Right? So the piece of grass is giving the best of itself, and it's doing so much good for the rest of humanity. So in the same way, the maxim, one life for Krishna, giving the best of yourself, you won't lose anything because the spirit soul cannot be dried up, can't be moistened, can't be burned by fire. So even though the grass is being eaten, but your body is going to be get chopped down by time. That's inevitable. While you have this human form of life, give the best of yourself because destruction of the body is inevitable. Um, of course, you don't do it in uh, the way you give the best of yourself, you do it under guidance, the guidance of a spiritual master, so that you can, the spirit soul can be joyful in this Trinadapi conception. In other words, as you're giving the best of yourself, um, You're not feeling the feeling that, oh, I'm just being mugged. You know, ISKCON is just extracting what it wants and then it's just kicking me out. Krishna doesn't want you to feel this because Krishna wants the best love. And so you have to feel that, yes, I'm giving the best of myself to Krishna and you're happy. And it's in that happiness where you'll actually see Krishna, because that happiness is based on you, uh, um, you as spirit soul, you as part and parcel of Krishna. It's based on your Sanatana Dharma. But now, if the sacrifice is clouded by a feeling of, oh, I don't want to do it, or I'm being forced to do it, then it's basically a sacrifice in the mode of ignorance. In other words, you're not seeing that actually your body is part and parcel of Krishna. You're not seeing that you're separate from this body. And so the feeling clouds the truth about you as spirit soul. So hence this sacrifice, ultimate sacrifice, has to be done um, under guidance, because this purification of these conceptions, this purification of the attachment to this body, um, it happens gradually. So Prabhupada, this verse, this very famous verse by Lord Chaitanya, Trinadapi Sunichena, is spoken by Lord Chaitanya in the Adi Lila 17th chapter, text 31. In the purport, Prabhupada says, the grass is specifically mentioned in this verse because everyone tramples upon it, yet the grass never protests. This example indicates that a spiritual master leader should not be proud of his position. Being always humbler than an ordinary common man, he should go on preaching the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. Yes, so devotees who've taken up the advanced devotees who've taken up the position of spiritual master. Yes, it's not a easy service. They raise young bhaktas and bhaktins as their sons and daughters, and sometimes these sons and daughters turn against them. Sometimes they sabotage their preaching work. Sometimes they they are so angry and they feel manipulated. That, oh yes, I just got manipulated. So for them, for these devotees, they practice this Trinadapi Sunichena by going on the preaching cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That despite these reverses, and it hurts. I mean, can you imagine you raise your own child and then your child turns against you? So for a parent, there's nothing worse than that. It's very, very difficult. Yeah, just from my own observations of my parents, is a very long time. My brother was, um, yeah, just blaming my parents for the difficulties that he was having in his life, and just observing how this hurt, especially my mother. Very, very painful for a parent to actually see. So things are much better now, but still, for several years, it was difficult. And basically, the parent has an existential crisis, questioning that, especially in this case, if the parent is pious and they see their parenthood as a covenant between them and the Lord. Promise that, my Lord, you have given us this gift of a child, and our duty, our promise to you is that we're going to take care of this child as your own child, and we're going to do the best we can. So in that, so the parent has this consciousness, a pious parent has this consciousness, and then the son or daughter of a preacher, for example, turns against such a parent. And there's many causes of why that can happen: mental health, drug addiction, all different types of external causes. Still, for the parent, it's very, very painful, because they are seeing this day in, day out. For several years, they're waking up this, especially for a mother, this little child. They bore them in their own womb. So the child, just as there's nothing more dear to you than your own body, similarly, for a mother, having produced the body of the child, that attachment is just as strong to the body of that child. And so, day in, day out, the child is angry at them, saying really hurtful things to them day in, day out. And so this visceral experience of having your own child turn against you, very difficult. What to speak of for a spiritual master? You give this young devotee, young child in devotional service. You give them the holy name. You absorb their sinful reactions at the time of initiation so that they can get a clean start. They throw dirt back on themselves after the initiation, and with the habits that they came in with into initiation. And you get reactions for that, silently, not protesting, and going on. And then such a child, such a spiritual child, then goes against you, speaking very bad, because there's no biological connection. Even even some of the curses can even get more intense. More intense than that to their own biological parent, because they feel, I just don't owe you anything. And they can say all sorts of hurtful things. So for such a devotee, a spiritual master leader, they have to go on preaching the cult of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And these devotees, they do it in the consciousness of that, the famous verse in the 10th canto, Prabhupada's favorite verses, that they see it as their own sinful reactions when these reverses happen, reactions of sins that they had committed in a past life, and they're just patient. They're just patient, and they go on with their service. So yes, part of tolerating, not protesting as a blade of grass, is part of exercising a favorable quality, favorable characteristic in devotional service, and that is to be patient. So we see here Prabhupada mentions in the purport, he says, again, this instruction by Lord Chaitanya is applicable. So he had mentioned it in the 3rd chapter. Let's see. Yeah, I think he had mentioned it in the 3rd chapter of the 6th canto. Let's see. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Tarorapi Sahishnuna. You will have many enemies, many envious persons when you become pure devotee. But you should tolerate. Tarorapi Sahishnuna. Be tolerant just like a tree and be humble just like a grass. Trinarapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna. Don't be afraid of your enemies, because Krishna will protect you. So Prabhupada is actually, I think this is, actually, this is a lecture. Sorry, this is a lecture on the 6th canto, 3rd chapter. And Prabhupada cited this verse. Yeah. So this is the antidote of fear when one is actually feeling fearful in devotional service. So based on our conditioned nature, we can have different causes of fear, based even on our false ego and its qualities. So for example, if you have the ego of an achiever, where your essence qualities are that you want glory. Glory is very attractive to you. Opulences which bring about glory, value, and you have a hopeful outlook in life. Your basic fear is of being incompetent, being a failure, and being worthless. If your ego is that of a moralist, and your qualities are all about uh, how to make things good, sacredness, and purity, your basic fear is just being perceived as bad, being corrupted, and being without integrity. So there's different situations that, based on our ego, remember uh, the ingredient of ego, as described by Lord Kapila in the third canto, it's ignorance, and fear is based on ignorance. So the false ego is a combination of um, this tamoguna, the time element from the Pradhan, then it becomes into the false ego. So any fear that we may have, any fear that we experience in devotional service, Prabhupada here is describing the situation of a devotee becoming will always have enemies, a pure devotee. What to speak of a devotee who is aspiring to become pure, he or she will become enemies, and they will have enemies, and they will actually feel some fear. And so this fear is coming from the covering of the soul. So as a spirit soul, we are covered by this layer of ignorance, called the false ego. And and so there's actually always cause. At every step, there's actually cause for being fearful. It doesn't have to only be through social interactions, but there's danger at every step. And so the antidote here, Prabhupada is saying, is just become humble and meek. Realize, so when you become humble and meek, you will see, you will see, you will look at the world through the eyes of the soul. So you'll see my fear is a product of my false ego. I'm feeling fearful because I'm covered by this layer of ignorance. So the becoming humble and meek, we can see now it's actually at an ontological level, because you are seeing the world from the platform of who you actually are, and that is part and parcel of Krishna. And so when you see your fear, you become an observer of your own fear, then uh, you're seeing the false ego, but then you're also seeing Krishna. Because if you're viewing your own fears from the platform of the soul, then you know that you're the soul and you're part and parcel of the Supreme Soul. And that is Krishna. And so Krishna will protect you. So just as um, um, Krishna appeared as a very special form of the Super Soul in the womb of Uttara, and he protected um, Parikshit Maharaj. So similarly, when you're viewing your own false ego through that, from the platform of you as spirit soul, whatever fear that you're experiencing in devotional service, that same very special form of the Lord, that super soul, very special, you'll actually see him. And therefore, you won't be fearful. Yes. Because once you see Krishna, he is uh, fear personified. This past Sunday, last week Sunday, we celebrated Lord Nrsingadev's appearance. And once Lord Nrsingadev appears, there's no cause for fear. Just as once the sun appears, there is no darkness. All the darkness gets dissipated. So this Trinada Pisuniche Na paradigm is the way to actually see the world. This is the way to see yourself within material nature, within Prakriti. Because this is the platform for actually becoming by Charanaravinda fearless, to actually becoming fearless. So we know Prabhupada, um, he lived up to his name, he demonstrated his name, he was always fearless in whatever situation. And uh, even when he was trying to establish his Krishna consciousness in Juhu, in Mumbai, in India, there was one antagonist who went by the name of Mr. N, and he was really trying to block Prabhupada establishing that very important temple. Yes, so if Prabhupada had such enemies, then you, as a devotee, we all know this life in America, the government has designed, yes, Mr. Nair, in the I was just quoting from the Lamrita. Satswarup Maharaj writes it as Mr. N. It doesn't actually explicitly mention his full last name. So we know life in America is actually the government has designed an inimical system against the people, the masses. 53% of Americans have less than 1,000 US dollars in bank account. So they're living from paycheck to paycheck. And so life becomes very, very difficult. So the government, um, uh, in such conditions, definitely such a financial system that's being maintained, definitely our leaders aren't our friends. They're not our well wishers. And so then when you try to preach, you're trying to create different different facilities for preaching, then relationships, even in Krishna consciousness, they get strained by price, they get strained by money, and so, and then what ends up happening is that, oh, this devotee is not wanting to do this because, there's no money, this, and that. And so then we end up fighting. We end up generating inimical feelings towards one another because of price, because of money. So this is the atmosphere we live in, is that there's cause not only for um, the generation, inimical feelings being generated are embedded within the financial system. And then so now add on top of that, then you become Parivrajagacharya, devotee, or you're preaching, you're going to different parts of the world. Even you're trying to preach locally. And then you actually get people who really hate you at the core. They misunderstand what you're doing. There'll always be one person who actually misunderstands what you're trying to do, and they really don't like you. Yes. So this is the atmosphere we live in. But if we view the world from this Trinadapi Sunichena platform and we see, oh yes, my well-wisher is Krishna, he's Bhoktaram, he is his formula. Krishna is the proprietor of all the three worlds, and he's a supreme benefactor. He's a supreme enjoyer of all sacrifices. Then actually become peaceful. You become free from your fear, and then you become peaceful. And with that inner sense of peace, then you can continue to fight. So all forms of martial arts for Kshatriyas even, um, fear is looked down upon, and not just as a social thing, but you can't fight. So if you're fearful, you'll become angry, or you won't really be able to remember the moves, the counterattacks, all the moves that has been part of your training, because that which is not, you see things, you basically become clouded by Maya. So Lord Brahma gives the example that somebody who mistakens a rope to be a snake, then they become fearful, right? Then once you know that that is a rope, then there's no cause for fear, and therefore you can go about your duties. So in the same way, when you're fighting, trying to um, be in this world but not of this world, fighting against the constraints of the financial system, fighting against the constraints of time, your own habits. It's all a fight while trying to practice devotional service. Um, you to remember your training, to remember these Bhagavatam classes that we are speaking, to remember it, you must not become fearful. If you become fearful, you won't remember. You will mistaken that which is meant for your benefit, or you'll even mistaken a devotee who's trying to be your well-wisher to be your enemy. So, viewing things from the platform of fear, we basically uh, take that which is, so Maya, the definition of Maya is that which is not. So we take that which is to be not, and vice versa, that which is not to be in existence. In other words, that which is sat, we take to be asat, and that which is asat, we take to be sat, in a state of fear. When you are peaceful, uh, just like today, it's promising to be a very bright, sunny day. You'll see things as they are. Indeed, you'll see yourself as you are, part and parcel of Krishna. You'll see your Guru Maharaj is your well-wisher. You'll see Prabhupada is your ever well-wisher. And you will see Krishna. Yes, you'll see through the transparent via media of the Parampara, you'll see Lord Nityananda. He's right there. He's your well-wisher. And Lord Nityananda will be showing you, yes, there is the divine couple. By his mercy, you'll be able to get darshan of the divine couple. And you'll see, yes, the only thing to actually aspire for in this world is to see Radha Krishna. That's the only thing that's to be aspired for. And that you're part and parcel of Radha Krishna. And before Radha Krishna, I should be humble and meek. They are my parents. Krishna is my father, and he just wants me to come back home. So, are there any questions, reflections, or contentions?
Hari.
Yes, there's a hand from Madhupan Lila.
Someone else was going to say something, but thank you for that. Was a really nice class. I just wanted to say that was like perfect. I'm dealing with someone currently in a government position who really does not like me for no apparent reason, and it definitely breeds some fear because I'm forgetting that Krishna is the supreme protector. So yeah, your class was really relevant for me, and I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm glad it was of benefit. That's your Prem Prabhu.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. On this topic of humility, like in terms of knowledge, we can all have our own conceptions and be kind of like puffed up by our own Siddhanta. Yeah, as Dhruva just said. But like a lot of the times we all have our own personal biases. Like some people are more liberal by nature, and so anyway. So in regard to the spiritual master, I guess this humility seems key in that we're actually being asked being humble means to like say like put aside those conceptions and just say, okay, whatever the spiritual master wants, like that's my Siddhanta. But that might be that's kind of it's hard to kind of surrender to that. It can be hard. So I guess yeah, I'm wondering if you could speak on that.
Yes, so our practice of chanting Hare Krishna, it's actually daily and making it your number one priority for the day. It's um, it's a very it's a very important spiritual technology. If you see it that way, you can get the benefit that Arjuna got, and you can get the same benefit that Brahma got. So, in putting aside your conceptions, it's just really the spiritual master is not asking you to immediately give up false ego. That's very difficult. It would be like asking, you know, non-trained Ashtanga yogi to give up their body in the same way that Dadichi Muni gave up his body for the bones that Vishwakarma needed to actually construct a weapon to kill Vritrasura. So the spiritual master is not going to ask you something that you can't do. Uh, he'll challenge you. It'll be a challenge, but definitely you can actually do it. So when you look at the transformation of conceptions of Arjuna through the entire Bhagavad Gita, through questions and answers, that's the process he followed. Krishna was very patient with him. And at the end, he asked him, okay, now what do you want to do? It's your decision. So the spiritual master, through knowledge, through the torchlight, through shining the torchlight of knowledge, he can help you see things as they are. So adopting the mission of the spiritual master as your life and soul is it's a maturation of knowledge. You actually see things from his perspective, and because he's a transparent via media of Krishna, you see things from Krishna's perspective. And therefore, being part and parcel of Krishna, you'll actually arrive at, yes, this is actually this is what I need to do. So through, yes, we also know that also intelligence, the functions of intelligence are doubt, apprehension, misapprehension, sleep. Um, so bhakti has space for all this in adopting the order of the spiritual master as your life and soul. And you first, as a matter of principle, you accept it, but then you'll go through a process of, okay, trying this way, trying that way, trying to really make it work. And Krishna, seeing that effort, he will actually help you. We also know that even without chanting, this is the other point I was trying to make with the chanting, is that we see Brahma, the way he solved problems, he goes to the beach of Shvetadvip and and he sits in meditation and he listens. So for me now, what's become my japa has become now, I like try to sit in the temple room and I listen to the transmission. So I'm listening, trying to chant attentively, and definitely if there's something that you're trying to solve, there's some difficult thing that you're trying to solve. Uh, and in this case, the problem you presented is trying to assimilate the order of the spiritual master. You'll receive a transmission from the holy name. The holy name will show you how to do it. But it begins from that conviction that my spiritual master is my well-wisher, and what he wants me to do is the same thing that what Krishna wants me to do. And if I do it, I'll actually come closer to Krishna. Does that answer your question, Prabhu?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I think there are many layers. But yeah, that's interesting point that it's a maturation of kind of realization and spiritual advancement. Yeah, teachers.
Yeah.
I'm running around like crazy right now in the barn, but I'll have to assimilate it throughout the day.
Okay, gotta go. Any other reflections or contentions?
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Thank you for a very nice and thought-provoking class. I'm thinking lots of things. Hardly know where to begin. This verse is I thought it was interesting because Parvati is she's preparing to curse Chitraketu. She is criticizing that he is puffed up, and Parvati is actually the personality of Maya, same personality that is covering all of us, and for the same reasons, essentially, that she is going to cover Chitraketu. She says that he is puffed up because of his achievements. He is thinking I'm the best, and so on. So she is accusing him of being wrapped up in false ego. And we also are bound by false ego, this conception that we are this body, or that we are the subtle elements of our body, the intelligence, the mind. False ego is the element of identification with those subtle elements. And there's different perspectives on this predicament. One is given by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur. He describes trying to or being absorbed in false ego, which means I'm trying to enjoy my subtle senses. So if we take pride, for example, pride has a particular mundane taste. We're trying to relish that taste, which is it's illusory, but it means I'm thinking that I am this or I'm that. I'm taking pride in something based upon some illusion that I am something that I'm not, or that I have done something that I actually have not done. We're trying to take credit for something, and we're trying to enjoy thinking in that way. Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in one instance, has described this as being like the activity of a thief who is trying to usurp someone else's property. He is trying to enjoy something that does not belong to him. And we are all like that in different ways, all trying to enjoy the material nature, trying to exploit the various resources that surround us, both beyond our body and within ourselves. We're trying to exploit the energies of our body and our mind, our intelligence. But all of this belongs to Krishna. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. We are we are not the enjoyer. We are servants. That's our real identity. if we're thinking that we're anything other than Krishna's servant, then we're in Maya, we're in illusion, and whatever it is that we're thinking is false. So it is Maya, Parvati, who creates that illusion when she sees that we are prideful or otherwise trying to enjoy either grossly or subtly, trying to exploit the material nature for our own enjoyment, when in fact everything is intended for Krishna's enjoyment. So she's going to punish Chitraketu. She is already punishing us. And so it's interesting that we're essentially in the same predicament as Chitraketu, and so this pastime is especially relevant to us. Anyway, there are these different perspectives on illusion and um, um, this false identification with the material elements. Everything, of course, belongs to Krishna. He is the supreme enjoyer. But if we are under the influence of false ego, then we think that there is somehow some credit that we are due. Krishna says, "Prakriti kriyamanani gunai kamani sarvashaha ahankara vimuratma kartaham iti manyate." The spirit soul, bewildered by the influence of false ego, is thinking himself the doer of activities that are in actuality carried out by the three modes of material nature. We think that we are the doer, and so we're trying to enjoy in various ways things that actually are not being done by us at all. Only under the spell of illusion, we're thinking that we are doing these things. Anyway, some of my thoughts. You presented a unique perspective on all of this, tying in the reference to blade of grass. That was interesting. There's lots of ways to look at these things. Anyway, I'm thinking about some of these things. Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. Yeah, I really appreciate your perspective, explaining how actually we're in the same predicament as Chitraketu, and the situational irony that Mother Parvati is finding fault with something that actually she is responsible for doing to living entities. So, yeah, it's quite the situational irony is, yeah, it's something to thank you for pointing that out. Are there any other thoughts before we read something about Sri Ramananda Rai? Let's see his disappearance date today. He is also another devotee who demonstrated this Trinadapi Sudhichena, sitting at the lotus feet of Lord Chaitanya. Yes, he was, and following Lord Chaitanya's prompting, that I need you to explain more, go deeper, go deeper. He was able to actually explain how glorious devotional service is. Yes, so Sri Ramananda Rai was able to explain that this pure devotional service, what it is, and it's actually the best thing, better than the objects of achievement found in Varnashram Dharma, greater than Vaikuntha. Just pure devotional service, exclusive devotion to Krishna is the greatest aspiration for the living entity. Sri Ramananda Rai was the viceroy of the east and west side of the Godavari River in the empire of Raja Sri Prataparudra. When Mahaprabhu was setting out on his tour of South India, Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya especially requested him to meet Ramananda Rai. Quote, "Please do not neglect him, thinking he belongs to a Sudra family engaged in material activities. It is my request that you meet him without fail. Ramananda Rai is a fit person to associate with you. No other devotee can compare with him in knowledge of the transcendental mellows." End quote. So just like with Chitraketu, Mother Parvati is accusing him of being puffed up and being, even though he's actually a great devotee, Chitraketu, having recently just had darshan of Ananta Shesha. So even here as well, the material energy was covering Ramananda Rai, and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya is saying to Lord Chaitanya, of course, Lord Chaitanya is omniscient, but he's helping us also as devotees that we shouldn't see, because we don't have the perfect vision like Lord Chaitanya. This verse is also for us that Ramananda Rai may appear covered, but is actually an unparalleled devotee because he has no other knowledge. His knowledge, no other devotee can compare with him in knowledge of the transcendental mellows. So we continue. As previously, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu converted to Vaishnavism. Many people he met on. Okay, the sentence doesn't make sense. Okay. After some days, the Lord reached the banks of the river Godavari. When you saw the river Godavari, the Lord remembered the river Yamuna. And when you saw the forests on the banks of the river, he remembered Sri Vrindavan Dham. After performing his usual chanting and dancing for some time in this forest, the Lord crossed the river and took his bath on the other bank. After bathing in the river, the Lord walked a little distance from the bathing place and engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna. At that time, accompanied by the sounds of music, Ramananda Rai came there mounted on a palanquin to take his bath. Many Brahmanas, following the Vedic principles, accompanied Ramananda Rai. According to Vedic rituals, Ramananda Rai took his bath and offered oblations to his forefathers. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu could understand that the person who had come to bathe in the river was Ramananda Rai. The Lord wanted so much to meet him that his mind immediately began running after him. Although Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was running after him mentally, he patiently remained sitting. Ramananda Rai, seeing the wonderful sannyasi, then came to see him. Srila Ramananda Rai then saw Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, brilliant as 100 suns. The Lord was covered by a saffron garment. He was large in body and very strongly built, and his eyes were like lotus petals. When Ramananda Rai saw the wonderful sannyasi, he was struck with wonder. He went to him and immediately offered his respectful obeisances, falling down flat like a rod. The Lord stood up and asked Ramananda to arise and chant the holy name of Krishna. Indeed, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was very eager to embrace him. Sri Chaitanya then inquired whether he was Ramananda Rai, and he replied, "Yes, I am your very low servant, and I belong to the Sudra community." Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu then embraced Sri Ramananda Rai very firmly. Indeed, both the master and the servant almost lost consciousness due to ecstatic love. The natural love for one another was awakened in them both, and they both embraced and fell down on the ground. When they embraced one another, ecstatic symptoms, paralysis, perspiration, tears, shivering, palpitations, and paleness appeared. The word Krishna came from their mouths falteringly. When the stereotyped ritualistic Brahmanas who were following the Vedic principles saw the ecstatic manifestation of love, they were struck with wonder. All these Brahmanas began to reflect as follows. These Brahmanas began to think, we can see that this sannyasi has a luster like the effulgence of Brahman. But how is it he is crying upon embracing a Sudra, a member of the fourth caste in the social order? They thought this Ramananda Rai is the governor of Madras, a highly learned and great person, Mahapandit, but upon touching this sannyasi, he has become restless like a madman. While the Brahmanas were thinking in this way about the activities of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Ramananda Rai, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw the Brahmanas and restrained his transcendental emotions. When they regained their sanity, they both sat down, and Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu began to smile and speak as follows. So, dear devotees, I'll leave you with that cliffhanger. This is a very static episode in Chaitanya Charitamrita, and you can read it today and pray to Ramananda Rai, who help you as part and parcel of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to help you in your service. To Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, see your place as a blade of grass in the Sankirtan movement and ask him for knowledge on how you can offer the best of yourself to the mission of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu through the will of your spiritual master. Hare Krishna. Rantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi Haribol. Okay, there's comments from Yashodaya Prabhu. Thank you. You have equipped me for battle. Thank you, Prabhu. You're a foremost soldier in the battle phalanx here for Radha Damodar up in State College. And yes, we are inspired by your heroic efforts.